Namaskar and good evening. A very warm welcome to all from Team Hingori Sutras. Make food your medicine. Aitareya Upanishad speaks about the creation of the world and its beliefs around the creation. It states that all living beings emerged from the self. It also states that the Brahman created the cosmic being Purusha by first creating the organs and then he created the body. Hunger and thirst were introduced so that the body can engage itself in otherworldly activities. The activities were introduced so that the body could seek nourishment and survive the world. Once the body was subjected to hunger and thirst, food was created, from where the energy could be received. The body could secure food and digest it. In addition to the same process, breathing was added. Breathing helps you digest the food and keep your body running. It helps to distribute your nutrients all over the various organs that your body is made up of. Today's session is the result of a conversation with Hingori on the importance of keeping our bodies fit till our last breath. We all want to live healthy without having to pop in all those pills, but the temptations and the attraction to the sense of taste somehow is an obstacle we find difficult to overcome. But a healthy body is important for us to have a healthy mind, and only when we have a healthy mind can we focus. So I think let's not get again too philosophical and let's understand what nutrition and health is all about. And who better than Ambika Nair? Ambika needs no introduction, but not many people know, apart from being a fantastic dietitian, a dietitian par excellence, she is a clinical nutritionist, adept at handling various complex cases like maintaining all the parameters before and after a liver transplant or a bariatric surgery. Hingori Sutra welcomes the brain behind health sutras. Ambika Nair, a very warm welcome to you. Aapka bahut bahut swagat hai, Ambika.
Thank you, Hingori Sutras, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. This talk is a humble attempt from my side to help you all live a healthier life, maybe a few years longer, the way you desire. So, let me just put it in a nutshell. What is your most valuable asset? Anjali?
Well, Ambika, at this moment, I would definitely say it is health.
Okay. But just when you think more detail about it, is it just health or is it more to it? Is there anything more than health?
Well, if you ask me, and I don't know what the audience has to say here, but I think it would be good health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is just not health. Health is a complex word, right? It has a lot of factors associated with it. So, and how can we maintain this health? How do you think can we maintain this so-called health?
What I read, what we hear, and of course, what we hear from you and the advice that we get from you is good physical health, good mental health in terms of eating well, exercising well, doing meditation, and looking after your body and mind is what I would think
Great.
is
So
required.
that's a very good answer. But to make it more simple, so today's attempt is to make complex things simple about health, right? So what is it that will help us maintain a good health? Very simple. The simple answer is a strong immune system. And how can we achieve this immune system? By just developing very simple minor changes in our healthy eating habits. Therefore, you can get major changes in health. So when we say good health is not also just your physical health, right? It also means mental health. So you develop a life's plan that allows time for work, rest, play, exercise, as well as a good diet. Now, in turn, what is the consequence? I would say, like, consequence is a negative word. According to me, what is the best effect of having all this in place? All this in place, it is going to help you stabilize your mood. It is going to help you have good supporting relationships, and it is going to improve your longevity. So, therefore, if you're going to put it in a nutshell, what is it that we require? Simple meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, good, healthy mind in a healthy body, right? So, to sum it all, what can we do to improve our immune system, right? And how does our immune system actually function? Now, our immune system is a very complex mechanism, right? It is going to be completely dependent on our food choices or environmental factors or exercise habits, our sleep schedule, our thoughts and feelings. Now, isn't it surprising that our immune system can be affected by our thoughts and feelings, and how important it is for us to identify the foods which are going to improve our vibrational energy, as well as help us to calm our mind, help us to de-stress. Therefore, our immune system is going to be like working much more wonders for us, and therefore you can be free of medications. So what are we doing in the present lifestyle is that we create an illness, and then we treat an illness. So it's become always a combination of illness and treating an illness, either through food or diet or through medications. So rather than relying on our medications, let us do our immune system a favor. How do we do it a favor? What
Is
kind
that
of?
possible, Ambika? Is that possible?
I think if you work towards it, and if we work diligently towards it, and by making very small baby steps, like probably you take simple steps, maybe by the attempt that we are all trying today is the health sutras. Through health sutras, what are we trying to achieve? We are going to give very simple, easy, effective guidelines, and time tested ones, evidence based contents, so that simple facts which are going to help us really, really work toward a better goal, right? And it is possible by following a right eating habits, exercising habits, and sleeping habits. These
Sure.
play a major role, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I have observed, I think you also must have observed, Anjali, and all of us have. There is a lot of change which has happened, right? Overlaid. Like, if you could see the kind of changes, what do you think are the changes that we are going through presently in the present scenario?
Well, I mean, in the last couple of years, are you talking about this
The
entire
recent
COVID
past,
thing?
the recent past, or probably in the last decade.
No. Oh, there's been a huge climate change. So there have been a huge habit change. Our lives have gotten so very busy that our focus on food has gone more towards eating out and eating ready meals uh, than than making that effort. And it's easier to pop in a vitamin than to think about making a salad full of vitamins.
Exactly, because we don't have time. We are in the rat race, you can call it, because what has happened to us? Our habits have changed, right? Each of us can contemplate on these lines, which I'm saying, because the minimal amount of intervention is what I'm planning to give you all, because we can't do too many things. We can't work on our health, we can't work on our exercise, we do not have time, we do not have time for many things, even for meditations, even for relaxation. So what has happened to us is our habits have changed, our environment has changed, our hormones have changed, food has changed. So this is a new paradigm. Like, when food itself has changed, what do? You are no longer consuming something called as a food. You're consuming a product, right? We are consuming a product because processed food is not found in nature. Nature knows only a raw option of food. But what we did is we made it all processed, and all processed foods are having a deadly combination of high fat, high sugar, high salt. So, and if you're going to have these kind of processed foods, therefore, in the long run, you're going to be addicted for sure. Meaning by addiction, what I mean is it's not alone. You're talking about addiction of smoking or alcohol. It's no longer, called as a major addiction. Food itself is a bigger addiction now. People can't restrict the quantity of food. People eat in such a way that they don't get food the next meal. We all know that from morning till evening, we know that we are going to have the next meal. We know that you're going to have your lunch. We all know that dinner is ready and the cook is already made. But why is it that we are not able to control our senses? We are not able to restrict the portion. We are not able to choose the right food because we are not thinking about it. Everything needs to be in our thoughts. We need to work on it. We need to practice healthy habits. We need to diligently give a little bit of our time every day about food, about the right aspects of food. So unless and until we are not aware about it, how can we create it? So our attempt is to create more awareness about all these. So by taking processed foods, as I earlier said, we are actually creating an illness and therefore treating the illness, right? Let me give you an example about cheese. Like many people like cheese. So they take, I just take a bite of cheese. This is how people say. But do you know that cheese, repeatedly by taking cheese, it is like a morphine addiction because it can create a lot of chemical change, biochemical change in your body. And therefore, it is going to cause, in the long run, it is going to affect your system, right? And when I'm talking about processed foods, have you all read the label? Is there something called, there's something called as a label, nutrition label. So have you seen anything called as a nutrition label, Anjali, behind a packaged food?
Never read it except for the thing. I mean, just to feel the satisfaction of reading. You read the facts and the protein, and then you see the numbers. You find them very small, and then you say, "Okay, this is safe. Let's eat it."
Right. Actually, you know what? Most of us turn the package, you'd see the price. Nobody is, taking a little bit of time to see the label content, right? If you see the label content of processed foods, you can see that, it doesn't have cholesterol. It has no trans fats. And, these kind of, a lot of marketing gimmicks are there in the label. But actually, certain foods do not contain cholesterol at all. Like, for example, if you talk about vegetable oil, right? Vegetable oil does not contain cholesterol, but in the label it says no cholesterol. So a normal, common public, common man, what he says is, oh, this food doesn't contain cholesterol, so let me take it. Cholesterol is from an animal source. And you're talking about cholesterol in a vegetable oil packet, right? So this is the way how people buy the foods without knowledge, right? And there are something called as acidity regulators. Now, in processed foods, there is something called, stabilizers or preservatives. You know how much harmful these are for the body because they are beyond nature. Like, for example, if I'm going to, compare potatoes versus potato chips, which do you think is more tastier? Boiled potato or potato chips?
Chips, of course.
Right? And the French fries or the nuggets. So, what do people, why are they, giving more or succumb their senses to these kind of, foods for the taste, right? So, if you're comparing the normal potato versus your potato chips, you're going to eat more quantity of the wrong food, right? Because it doesn't have taste. So everything is again based on taste. It has something called as acidity regulators. If you see your potato chips packet, just read the nutrition label. So meaning it's already going to cause acidity, and therefore they are adding something called acidity regulators to regulate your acidity, right? So why do
Okay.
we have to invite trouble by taking potato chips compared to your regular potatoes, right? So that is why my main concern for today is read the label before you buy anything. This is our first take home message, right? Read the label. Read the smaller aspects which are present in the label. How much of sugar, how much of salt, what is the recommended dietary allowance. So once, let us start developing this habit of reading a label. Even if you don't know about the label, it's okay. Just read the label, right? Now,
Right. Now,
the
my question to you here is, Ambika,
Mhm.
yes, you said processed food is packaged foods versus, normal diet cooked at home. Right? So there is this thing about taste.
Right.
It's the taste that sort of, you, like you said, the sense of taste that you succumb to. So healthy food is bland.
This is a
It,
this is a myth which we have to debunk, right?
okay, okay,
Okay.
right.
Healthy food can be made very, very tasty, right? So, but you need to know what is the kind of food that you can, incorporate. Like, for example, let me tell you, have you ever had beetroot paratas? Right? The most ever tastiest paratas you can make out of beetroot. You can make out of beetroot flour. You have jackfruit flour available. You can, create excellent recipes out of almond flour. You can create excellent recipes out of rajgira atta, out of oats flour. All these are millets. And if you're going to incorporate the same aloo paratha taste, you will get it if you're going to, make it in a different, using different ingredients, for which you need to actually give a little bit time. You need to put in that passion in making the food. The problem is we do not have time. We all are like, looking for instant foods, right? So that is one reason why we are not able to, prepare tasty foods. Okay. And there is also another myth that masala is not good for health, right? It is not so. Masalas contain very good antioxidants, like all your spices, your homemade spices, that is your ginger, your garlic, jeera, maybe all your, dalchini, lavang. These are very high in antioxidants. They are anti-cancer preventing. So when you're going to incorporate all this in your diet, obviously it's going to have excellent taste, right? But how is it that people are using वो भुना हुआ ग्रेवी? जैसे कि उसी सब्जी को इतना उसी मसाले को इतने बार मतलब 10 मिनट 15 मिनट उसको तेल में इतना भून कर then you are having the food, so automatically the masala also loses its nutritive value, right? So we are cooking food in excess time, as well as cooking it in the wrong way. And if you're going to cook it in the right way, you will find that subtle taste. Let me give you an example, Anjali. Like when you stop taking sugar in your chai or coffee, right? Initial first week, you may find it a little difficult to have, tea without sugar. But after a week, you will start relishing. Even if you get a dot of sugar in your chai, you will understand what is sugar. You will understand the taste bud starts getting immediately stimulated. So when you know that, you give minimum amount of stimulation to your taste buds, it's in turn going to help you control your mind. Isn't that beautiful? If you're
Mhm.
going to work on your senses this way through your food, your mind is going to be more calmer. It's going to be more peaceful. If you're going to give it all the kind of tastier, rich foods with more of masalas, more of spices, more of salt, more of oil. So always dil mange more, right? You can't stop with one. You have to keep eating more and more until your saturation level says that finally it's enough is enough. Now I've now developed diabetes. Now I've developed hypertension. Now let me get off this food. Again, what people do is for some period of time and again get back to the same routine. So we need to be very consistent in our eating habits. So the number one myth that I would like to debunk is मिर्च मसाला के बगैर टेस्ट नहीं. Lots of antioxidants are present in spices. Use them in a nice right way. In fact, spices, if you say, like, there are a lot of researches about spices, each herb you could talk about in detail, right? So that is number one myth. The second myth which I wanted to ask you is, like, what is dieting? What does the word diet mean to you? Do you
Well,
mean to starve?
yes, that, I mean, the basic concept of diet is that I have to starve myself, and I need to eat bland boiled food.
Okay, so this is the answer that I think all of you must be thinking, like dietitians cut down the food. Dietitians will restrict food. They will give us more of restrictions rather than what more to have, right? What to have. So this is a
Absolutely.
myth which we need to debunk today. Diet does not mean that you have to starve. It simply means eating in balance. All that you have to do is eat the right proportion. You have the right food groups. You have the right balance of cereals, pulses, fruits and vegetables, fats and sugars, and milk and meat products. Now, if you're going to have it in right balance, every food is going to be like you can relish each food and you can eat wholesome food and still lose weight. Now, the next myth which I want to tell is I can effectively lose weight if I eat less. This is what people think, right? Most people think I have to cut down food, or I have to skip a meal, or I have to do an intermittent fasting. Now, that's in vogue now. People do intermittent fasting like crazy, like number of hours of fasting. They do not follow the principles of fasting, right? They cut down on food, they cut down on calories. But how is the best effective way to lose weight is there is something called as calorie intake versus calorie expenditure. And if you're going to eat the right amount of calories versus your expenditure, you are going to be in balance. If you're going to expend more calories, or if you're going to burn more calories by way of exercises, definitely you're going to lose weight. And if you're going to take lesser calories, you're definitely going to fall sick. And if you exercise more, so you need to have a balance there. So there is nothing called effective weight loss if I eat less. So eat right to lose weight, right? So these are
You were,
some
you were
myths.
talking about intermittent fasting being a fad.
Yeah,
Yeah. And, but how do you maintain that balance? I mean, it is, see, our, our Ayurveda and our ancient texts supports fasting, right?
absolutely. Hmm.
So what is that balance between fasting and eating? As where, how can one go wrong with
Yes.
that?
So I think fasting has become a trend nowadays. Like it's more like a fashion. Fasting was invented to give rest to your digestive system. But on the day of fasting, what do people do? That is the day when maximum amount of carbohydrates are consumed, like varai ka chawal, sabudana khichdi, lots of aloo or chivada, like potato chivadas, or probably not consuming food, not eating any food at all. So these are the wrong ways of fasting. So there are some principles in fasting. In fasting, what you do is it's close to nature, like where you eat as foods which are natural as possible. Like it is more of a naturopathy kind of a thing, where you take right amount of food and you have a fasting window, right? So generally there is something called as a 16 is to 8, right? So 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. Okay, so it depends on how best your body is. So each body behaves differently towards fasting. You cannot follow the same principle for everybody. If one person fasts for 14 hours, the other person may not be able to. They may get a migraine or an acidity, right? Everybody can't do the same kind of intermittent fasting. So the better way to fast is you can like sort of go on a detox for once in 15 days. Take lots of fruits, take lots of vegetables, take lots of raw foods, take good amount of water, take foods which are very close to nature like buttermilk, coconut water, fruit juices, and very simple foods which are like not too much cooked foods. Like take more of raw foods like sprouts, etc., and then do your fasting. So you eat and fast, and rather than not eat at all. Okay, but there is also another therapy, fasting as a therapy, where you starve for 72 hours. So there is something called as autophagy. Now in autophagy, what happens is your own immune system is going to be working on yourself, and therefore all the negative toxins are going to be eaten up by autophagy. So because of that, finally you end up in losing weight, as well as it's going to rejuvenate your system. But that has to be done through a qualified expert only. You cannot do it by seeing your internet or any information which you get it in the net, right? So fasting has its own advantages and disadvantages. Uh,
Ambika, here I have a question. You know, we do tend to land up fasting at night, right? When we sleep. So would that be also counted in the fasting hours?
Exactly. So the practical approach in fasting is what, like say if you're having an early dinner, say by 7, 7:30. right? And you're going to have your next day breakfast around 7:30 or 8:30. So you got by default a 12 to 13 hours of fasting. So it's every time whenever you follow this process of 12 to 13 hours of fasting, automatically your body gets, or your digestive system gets, the best time to rejuvenate. So, and it is also very good because if you're going to have your dinner by 7:30 and you're going to sleep by say 10:30, you got 3 hours before sleeping. So that's going to work super wonders on your digestive system. So the more late you eat your food or your dinner, it's more worse for you. And more you're going to sit late night. Like say if you're going to sit beyond 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, your digestive system is going to go for a toss, right? Your liver is going to secrete the enzymes. You're going to get acidity. And early morning you get up with, you're not fresh. You don't get the 7, 8 hours of sleep. So therefore, fasting can be done in this better way where you can make it as a habit to have your dinner by 7, and don't take anything very heavy after that also, like, so taking even your dinner could be a lighter dinner with lesser carbohydrates,
Sure.
right? Now, now I just wanted to bring into light the 5 nutrients that we should eat less. The 5 nutrients you should definitely eat more. Okay, I've just divided into 2 groups. So I want to talk about the 3 major important nutrients, which I already mentioned in the beginning as HFSS, that is high fat, sugar, salt, which is supposed to be our deadly enemy. It's a deadly combination, right? So I'm going to give you more details about what is the salt, what are the types of sugars which are available, what are the types of fats. So these 3 nutrients definitely eat less. The other 2 nutrients that you need to eat lesser are, or rather no, I would say, is processed foods and aerated drinks. Definitely bring them, meaning close to zero, right? So the 5 nutrients, when I'm talking about salt, right? There are a lot of salt, different types of salt available. So, Anjali, are you aware of the various salts? Like, have you come across any
Yes.
different kinds
Some
of?
of them, some of them, yes. I mean, apart from the table salt, you have the pink Himalayan salt, you have sea salt,
Right.
and we have what we call the Senda Namak, the black salt.
Okay.
Yeah, these are some of the ones that.
Yeah. So there is a lot of confusion among everybody, which is the salt to use, right? So let me
Yeah.
give you an overview about what are the different kinds of salts and exactly how they are going to be helpful to you, right? What is salt? Salt is simple sodium chloride. Okay, it contains high amount of sodium. So 1 teaspoon of salt, which is 6 grams of salt, contains 2,300 milligrams of sodium, as in table salt, right? Whereas 1 teaspoon of your sendav namak or your rock salt or your Himalayan pure pink salt, okay, it contains 2000 milligrams of sodium. Therefore, your pink salt contains lesser amount of sodium compared to your table salt. But there is a, sort of a catch here. Should I use pink salt in my cooking or should I use table salt in my cooking? So people are confused, right? So for blood pressure, we need to have less than 1500 milligrams of sodium, people who have high blood pressure. So therefore, 3/4 teaspoons of salt is allowed. Now, if I'm going to use only sendav namak in cooking, or rock salt, or Himalayan pink salt, okay, so am I going to be devoid of any important nutrient? Yes. There is a very important nutrient called iodine. Okay. Iodine is present only in iodized table salt. Whereas in your Himalayan pink salt, now Himalayan pink salt is, mined in the Kevra, mines of Himalayas. So it has got pink, it is pinkish in color because it has got more of iron. It has got more of other nutrients. Around 84 nutrients are present in Himalayan pink salt. It contains like strontium, molybdenum, and magnesium, etc. So that is supposed to be very good. Whereas your table salt does not contain these many nutrients. But the only disadvantage of this Himalayan pink salt is it is not iodized, because Himalayan bed doesn't contain good amount of iodine, right? But iodine is very important for your mental health. And if you're going to take salt without iodine, you're going to have a lot of mental health disorders or mood swings, etc. So what is the best way is, if you
What is iodine important for?
Yeah, iodine is a very it's called as a micronutrient, and it helps a lot in a lot of your body functions, your thyroid, especially in your metabolism. And all the diseases, the present day generation or the lifestyle diseases of today are called as metabolic diseases. It is called as metabolic syndrome, where you have hypertension, diabetes, obesity, lipids, that is your cholesterols, and diabetes. All five diseases are combined together as metabolic syndrome. So, and it is going to decrease your metabolism if you're not going to take good amount of iodine in your diet. And if you're going to take less amount of iodine, it is going to affect your mind, right? And if you're going to affect your mind, you're going to be more stressed and you can't be calmer. So you need iodized salt. You need iodization. So the table salt is recommended, but in a minimal amount. How much of table salt? 1 teaspoon of salt a day. You could also add your sendav namak, which is a rock salt, which is supposed to be excellent for digestion. It can prevent bloating. It can prevent, it's like a laxative. It helps in flatulence. So the rock salt can be added in certain beverages. You could add your Himalayan pink salt, or pink salt could be added in certain foods. So you could have a combination of salts so that you could have the best of everything, right? So the amount of salt you need to remember is only 1 teaspoon. So you adjust the salt in such a way that you get up to 2000 to 2000 milligrams of 2300 milligrams of sodium a day, right? And the iodine sources apart from salt are seafoods, like seaweeds contain iodine, dairy products contain iodine, and fish contains iodine. And if you're going to take all this, then probably a little bit of sendau namak you can add more, or pink salt you could add more in your diet, right? So this is the important information about salt, because we are not aware how much to take also. The second nutrient, which I said to take in minimal amount, is sugar. So how much of sugar we need to take? There are various types of sugars. One is palm sugar. So the sugar which is taken from the palm tree. Jaggery, okay, which is taken from dates and cane, that is sugar cane. Coconut sugar is from coconut palm. And there is also stevia. Interestingly, I found a very good type of sugar, which is called as monk fruit sugar. Now, the name monk fruit sugar itself suggests that it is going to help you calm your mind, right? But it's not available in the market, like, which is easily available in the market. It is, though it is available in the US, it's very, easily available. So what does these sugars do? Basically, sugar gives you the immediate energy, instant energy. Now, 1 gram of sugar is equal to 4 kilocalories. So if you're going to have more amount of sugar, you're going to increase your calories. You're going to increase your tendency for diabetes, right? So you need to restrict the right amount of sugar. Now, even in sugar, you have sucrose and fructose and glucose. Now, sucrose is nothing but the table sugar, which is a combination of your glucose and fructose. Fructose is nothing but fruit sugar. Now, if you take fruits also, your sugar contain, your sugar, recommended sugar allowance you're going to get. If you're going to take dates, or you take jaggery, it's as good as taking sugar only. It's going to increase your sugar levels. And what is honey? Honey has got maximum amount of fructose, right? So it has got more than about 17% of honey is water, and it is more sweeter than glucose, because it contains fructose, right? Honey is also not very healthy option if you're going to take it in large amount. But 1 teaspoon of honey, as per as as far as Ayurveda, it's supposed to be used as medication, right? So we have to choose the sugar rightly. Like, for example, if you want to have sugar with no calories, stick to stevia. Stevia is nothing but a leaf, okay, which tastes very, very sweet. It has no calories. It has no it is not going to increase your blood sugar, but it leaves a aftertaste, right? But there are not many researchers or studies about stevia, whether they're going to affect your kidneys or cardiovascular diseases. So better is the information that we know about sugar. How much of sugar you can take the natural form of sugar, like jaggery or palm sugar or coconut sugar, in a very lesser amount. And if you're going to take refined sugar, which is more bleached, it's going to be more harmful to you, like the white sugar.
Brown sugar, Ambika.
Yeah, brown sugar is nothing but more of molasses, right? It is the unrefined form of the cane sugar, where it is not bleached. So it's simply a brown color of sugar. Once you add a chemical process, it becomes your white table refined sugar. So it has got the same calorific value, same value as it is going to increase your blood sugar levels, that is your glycemic index. So anything which is going to increase your blood sugar levels are not that very good for you. So sugar is also an inflammatory product, right? It is pro-inflammatory. It is going to cause more of inflammations and infections in your body. So restrict sugar as much as possible. Now, when you're going to restrict sugar, how much of sugar in a day? If I'm going to tell you, you can have 1 teaspoon of sugar in your coffee or in your tea, morning and evening. So your 2 teaspoons are done, and extra one more teaspoon you have in a day, max to max. So meaning 3 teaspoons of sugar is enough for your body to get that glucose rush, right? But what are we doing? We are taking sweets, and sweets have hidden sugar. It has got oil, it has got ghee, fats, everything together. So therefore, it's more harmful for us, right? So the next food which I said was about fat. The third food which we need to avoid. In large amount, we cannot consume fat because most of the diseases are related to high fat intake. Now, if you see, have you heard of this term fatty liver, Anjali?
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you see the ultrasound of maximum people, you can see mild or grade 1 fatty liver. What is the reason? Most of the people have a belly. Most of the people accumulate fat in the stomach, right? Most of us have high visceral fat. What is the reason of that? The main reason is by taking fat containing foods. Okay, hidden fats. There is a lot of hidden fat in food, which is called as invisible fat. There is something called as visible fat and there is something called as invisible fat, right? Visible fat is nothing but your oil, ghee, like butter, dalda, anything which is visible and you pour it outside. Whereas invisible fat, which is present itself in your food, like walnuts, almonds, coconut, etc., contain invisible fat. Now, which is the best form of fat that we can consume? Which is the oil that you generally consume or generally use for cooking, Anjali?
Well, the vegetable or the sunflower oil.
Okay, so I'm not talking that this oil is good or that oil is bad. Generally, oils come under various categories of omega 6 and omega 9 containing oil, right? And we forget about the omega 3. Omega 3 is supposed to be the best kind of fat, and that fat we need to consume definitely either in plant sources or in the form of fish oil capsules, right? But most of them are not, people do not like to consume, people who are vegetarians do not like to take the non-vegetarian form of omega 3. So we could have the vegetarian sources of omega 3, like flaxseed oil is available. You have walnuts, which have good amount of omega 3. So we could include good amount of walnuts, which has got hidden good fats, right? Almonds have got hidden good fats, which will help in absorption of your vitamin E, your fat soluble vitamin. Whereas your invisible fat needs to be in a right proportion, like 10% could be your invisible fat. And your visible fat, you could take probably like 3 teaspoons a day. Like I said, 3 teaspoons of sugar and 3 teaspoons of oil. So make it as minimal as possible. Use a lot of recipes can be made with 1 teaspoon oil. There are lovely books which are available with cook with 1 teaspoon oil. You can all search for those kind of books. Cook with 1 teaspoon oil, and it's really, really tasty. You have these, a lot of gadgets called air fryer available, right? But even in the air fryer, I see people, putting a little bit of oil or malai or cream. And what's the point of buying an air fryer then? Right? So if you're going to eat the same way what you've been eating, you're going to get the same result what you were getting earlier. So make a change today, and make a change by creating some awareness within you that the fat which is accumulated in my tummy is all because of the fat that I'm consuming, right? So let's be aware of the correct amount of fat. So you have a whole lot of oils like rice bran oil, olive oil, you have soya bean oil, sunflower oil. So you use it in a minimal amount, and you could use the good fats like extra virgin olive oil, cold pressed coconut oil. Did we forget our basics, Anjali? I think earlier we were eating only and only organic, right?
Yeah.
So the trend now about organic has become a fashion. Organic has become too costly. Why? Because no more organic food is available. The entire farmland is being completely treated with pesticides and insecticides, and you're not getting organic food anywhere. So it's become more costlier. But whereas earlier down the ages, we were eating pure organic food and the number of diseases were lesser. But now the number of diseases have increased because of the type of farming itself. So let's stick back to the taking lakdi gani ka tel or kachi gani ka tel, which is going to be cold pressed oils. They are very, very good unrefined cold pressed oils, cold pressed virgin coconut oil, cold pressed olive oil. These are available. Nuts, oil seeds, these are excellent for your health. And we are buying sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, all the various seeds which are available in the market. We throw away the seeds. Let's save those seeds from the fruits. Let's take those seeds from the fruits and save it. Let's dry it at home. We can do all these at home, just that we need to give in some effort. We need to put in some time and create a better healthier future for us, right?
There's
So
a
the
question here, Ambika. My Nana asking, what about ghee?
ghee, right? About ghee, what I would say is there are a lot of theories about ghee, but ghee is nothing but saturated fat, right? Now, what is saturated fat? Saturated fat is something which is going to get deposited in your arteries. And if it's going to be deposited along with cholesterol containing foods, it's going to block your arteries if you're going to take it in a larger amount. Okay.
The
So,
key here is to use things in moderation.
exactly. So take ghee, but 1 teaspoon of Shuddha Desi cow's ghee is what everybody loves to take. But stop with that 1 teaspoon, right? Ghee is very good for digestion. It's an excellent, it's very good for your bones. It's got vitamin D. So you could consume ghee, but take it in a very less amount. But if you're going to have a high cholesterol, I'm not going to recommend you to take ghee and add on to your cholesterol levels, right? The fourth food which I said was aerated drinks. Absolutely no to aerated drinks because they contain high amount of carbon dioxide. Now if high amount of carbon dioxide are consumed, your lung capacity is going to decrease. More of carbon dioxide you have to eliminate out of your system. So aerated drinks are a complete no. The next is, which I said about the fifth food, was processed foods. Processed foods, please check 10 times before taking processed foods if it's absolutely necessary. Like, even if you're going to have atta, like for example, I'm giving you an example of multigrain atta. But what is it that we do? We go check or Google or check in the net for multigrain atta. But very simple, you can make multigrain atta at home. Just get some jawar, just get some rajgira, get some bajra, add some oats, add some soya bean, mix it up together and make your multigrain atta, right? So why are we again, so when you're going to buy atta which has a shelf life of 6 months, imagine there is a preservative in it, right? And if you're going to make your multigrain atta at home, it's going to be like, you're going to finish it within a week or 10 days, right?
Right?
It doesn't have any preservative. It's going to get spoiled if you're not going to finish it early, right?
Key is eat fresh.
Eat fresh, right? So that's where I'm going to come to next is 5 foods that you should eat. So the 5 foods, remember the 5 foods. I always mention about the 5 a day vegetables. Okay, eat 5 a day. This is a slogan given by WHO, eat 5 a day. By 5 a day, what we mean is eat 3 vegetables and 2 fruits. Minimum of 3 vegetables and 2 fruits a day, right? Take a fruit in the morning. The best time to eat fruit is early morning when you are like, empty stomach. So empty stomach, you start with making your system alkaline and then you consume something as fruit. So you can take alkaline foods like water, you could take alkaline foods like hot water and lime, and then consume your fruit. And when you're going to take your fruit in the morning, it's going to be best absorbed. The best time of absorption, you need to take fruit, and you cannot mix fruits with food and take. So the quality of fruit is going to go away, right? Similarly, when you're going to have vegetables, eat 5 a day, eat good amount of vegetable. Now I'm going to give you a scenario. Look at your plate from today. Okay, all of you listening over here, I want you to look at your plate. Divide your plate into 4 quarters, right? So half of your plate should contain vegetables. Now, half of your plate, by that, what do I mean? 1/4 is raw and 1/4 is cooked. Because if you're going to cook vegetables more and more, you're losing the nutrient content of vegetable, right? So as much as possible, take raw, and 1/4 should be cooked. And 1/4 of your plate should contain proteins, that is your pulses, and only 1/4 should be your carbohydrates. So when I say the 5 foods that you need to have, it's fruits, vegetables, complex carbohydrates, your raw food, which is close to nature, and more of water, right? These 5 foods definitely include in your diet, which is a must, so that it is going to help you improve your immune system. So when I said you're going to get good health by improving your immunity, when you're going to do all this, you're going to improve your immunity, right? So
I have a question here by Rahul saying, what can you do with the leftover portions of fruits and vegetables? They also have nutrients, and also leaves of fruits and plants. Like, so, when you've not finished, so what can you do to, you can't eat that much and there's leftover. So how do you consume it? Is there a way of preserving it and
okay.
having it at a later time?
Yes, if it is like a leftover, I would say vegetables. Generally, you say stale foods. They give you a tamasic kind of uh, mind. Okay, I would not recommend at all to have anything which is stale. Okay, kept for a long time in the refrigerator, or reheating of food, etc. Leftover foods. There are many ways, right? It may be leftover in your house, right? You can go and donate it to others, right? Where people are actually needy. Okay. Now, reheating the same food is going to cause health issues for you, because it is going to increase your acidity. So if you're having leftover, say for example vegetables, what you could do is make a blend of the vegetable and put it in your atta, make a roti out of it, right? Mix it up and, like, make a paratha out of it. If you've had some veggies which is remaining in the morning, what you could do is you could just make a frankie out of it, put it in your rolls, like a simple homemade frankies or rolls you could have. If you have leftover fruits, you could make a puree out of it, make a jam out of it, right? So there are many ways to use the leftover food, but leftover overnight I would not recommend, right? Because your body requires fresh food. More and more you're going to, if you're going to talk about longevity, eat fresh food, cook fresh, eat within 4 to 6 hours of preparing the food, because more you keep the food, more tamasic it becomes, and more you heat the food, or more you add masalas and make it more spicy and tasty, it becomes more rajasic, and more it is going to make your mind more succumb to your senses. So what is sattvic ahar? Sattvic is more close to your nature, more close to giving you a peaceful, calmer mind. So your fruits, vegetables, freshly cooked foods, like dahi, all these are more and more better for your system, right? So these kind of foods we need to include. The last thing which I wanted to add was about the complex carbohydrates, right? A lot of talk has happened about carbs, right? Stop the carbs, do not take carbs. I'm going on a gym, I'm doing a high intense workout, so I've stopped carbs. Carbs, what does the word carbs mean? Carbs is nothing but carbohydrates, right? Carbohydrates are going to give you energy giving foods. So there are two types of carbohydrate. One is called as a simple carbohydrate, the other one is complex. So let's choose more of complex carbohydrates like millets, your all your different types of millets, pearl millet, kodo millet, barnyard millet. Any of these millets are extremely rich in carbohydrates. So you could take excellent complex carbohydrates. They're going to help you in giving you good amount of fiber. Now, if you eat good amount of fiber, it's going to help you remove your fat. It's going to help you improve your digestive system. It's going to help you eliminate all your toxins. It's going to cleanse your colon, and therefore you are going to empty out in a much easier way. And if you're going to accumulate by taking lesser fiber foods, by taking simple carbs like rice or sugars, these are going to make it, you're going to get more of constipation. So there will be less of elimination from your system. So you will have to take extra fiber in the form of, like, wheat bran or etc., to compensate that. So rather than that, include complex carbohydrates daily in your diet, right? So I think these are some important aspects I thought I would cover today. If we have anything else from the audience, I think we have 5 to 7 minutes more. We could take some questions or something like that, Anjali.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, I am being greedy, I guess. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, there's this myth about drinking water with your meal. So, you need to drink water to wash the food down, or have a drink, or, whatever, in any form, to wash the food down is a very typical thing. I think a habit that all of us follow. So,
Right.
what do you have to say about that?
See, water is a very, very important nutrient and the most neglected nutrient, right? I think loads of advice about water all of us have got. But when to take water? What is the time to take water? The best time to consume water, I'm going to come up with one of the, in our health sutras, I'm going to come up with some sutras about various aspects of food. So, wherein I'm going to talk about water, definitely. So, you all can stay tuned in about that. But uh, uh, about your question about what is the kind of water and how much to take and when to take. So, the best time
The
to,
first question is, while eating a
Mhm.
meal,
Right.
should we consume water while we're eating or not?
Absolutely no. When you're going to have water along with your food, it is going to dilute your digestive juices, right? So there is no way you should consume water just before a meal or just after a meal or along with a meal, right? So when is the right time to consume water is maybe half an hour or an hour after a meal, wherein your food has been assimilated, the right nutrients have gone inside your system, and then you consume water. That is the right way to consume water. And how much of water depends on the climate, depends on the person's expenditure, energy expenditure. Like if you're going to exercise more, you need to consume more water. If you're having any other issues related to kidney, you need to consume lesser water or as per the physician's advice, right? And if you're given a restriction for water, you need to follow that. But the best time to consume water is maybe an hour after meal, and early morning is the best time to consume water because water dilutes your acid, right? So you need to consume water in good amount, maybe around 2.5 to 3 liters every day is good enough for maximum people.
Okay. Right. Another question here, Ambika, is about what would you advise for the elderly people in terms of what kind of food should they consume to stay healthy and on their feet? Because I think it's with age, you have your metabolism that slows down, you have age related issues as well. So there are two questions here asking about food or nutrients for elderly people.
Okay. So, elderly, what happens is, as you rightly said, the metabolism decreases, right? So, we will not be able to eat the same kind of masalas or the same kind of food that you were eating when you were young, right? So, the best is to avoid any gas forming foods, okay? Anything which can increase your flatulence, anything which weakens your digestion power, we need to reduce. Like, for example, if you're going to have whole legumes, right? So legumes, especially when you're going to take it in the night, or uncooked sprouts or uncooked legumes, or like, chana dal or chole, these cannot be digested easily by elderly people. So you need to give them well cooked, number one. You need to add the good nutrients. That doesn't mean you should be devoid of eating chole, right? But you make the chole with more of jeera, add more of hing, add those foods which is going to reduce the flatulence, right? So you could give it, make it in a different way, and with lesser oil, lesser amount of fats, lesser amount of sugar containing foods, and give them foods which are very easy to be digestive, number one. Number two is consistency. The most important thing is consistency, because if you're going to give dry food, like for example a dry toast or dry poha, etc., it's very difficult for elderly to swallow, right? They should be something which has got a gravy or a consistency which is little loose consistency, which is easier for them to digest. And if it is above 70 or 80 years, if they have any dentures or any dental issues or swallowing issues, it's always good to give something which is very lighter for the stomach. And as I told earlier, give food like early meals, like maybe around 7:38, before 7:30, give the dinner. And before going to sleep, they could have a small cup of warm milk, because milk contains an excellent ingredient called as tryptophan. Okay, tryptophan is a amino acid which is going to help to induce sleep, because most elderly have got sleep disturbances. So when you're going to calm your mind, tryptophan is a amino acid containing, which will help to calm the mind. So if you give that warm milk, maybe if you add a little bit of jaifal, it is going to induce sleep. So these kind of changes which you have to make in the elderly, modification of the consistency, modification of the masalas, the type of food. You cannot give them, overload them with outside food or hotel food. Simple home cooked meals, small frequent meals. Do not give them large portions. It can cause bloating, right? And do not mix, water along with the food, because they do have a problem with swallowing. But make the food in such a way that it is easy to be swallowed, and include a whole lot of antioxidants like carrots. Carrots are excellent. You could give carrots and avla juice. Carrot contain vitamin A, avla contains vitamin C. So prepare juices such that their immunity level also increases. And see to it that there is a good amount of B12 and vitamin D3. Most of the elderly are deficient in these nutrients. We need to check them and probably supplement these nutrients too.
The next question, when you spoke about vitamin B12 and D3, is there anything in a vegetarian diet? There's a question here that can help in making sure that we are not deficient of B12 and D3. D3, of course, but B12.
Yes, B12 is more present in non-veg foods, right?
Yeah.
But some amount of vegetarian foods do contain B12, like dairy products and fermented foods contain B12, but they will not give you the recommended dietary allowance. What we require in a B12 deficiency is much, much higher, right? So if you're going to even have curd every day, you're not going to suffice your B12. So probably you may require B12, maybe in the form of oral supplementation or in the form of B12 tablets. This is where sometimes the medications are required in this case. But if you're going to have daily some amount of sprouts, some amount of fermented foods, so these can give little amount of your B12. But that doesn't mean that you need to take non-vegetarian foods only. Even in non-veg foods, like for example, eggs contain good amount of B12. Your mutton and red meat contains very high B12, but that is complete no-no, because red meat is very harmful for health. So chicken and lean meat like fish, which is supposed to be, even those are, keep it to the minimum, because they do more harm than good, right? So it is again your taste buds, again your senses are going to be activated with some negative vibration, right? So therefore try to minimize or keep very very less amount of non-vegetarian foods, because compared to vegetarian sources, there are a whole lot of protein sources in vegetarian foods. So if you're going vegan, then it's even milk and eggs are not allowed. So it depends on what you want to do. There is a whole lot of thing available, right?
Mm. Okay. Thank you, Ambika. Ambika, there's another question here by Sandeep saying that could you give us some tips on what to eat and what time? So let's touch the time factor of
Oh,
meals and when should we eat,
oh,
and when, from the start of the day till the end of the day.
right. So the right time is the time when your digestive juices are secreted at its maximum. Okay. So in Ayurveda, what they say is there is a particular time where between morning 7 to 8 a.m., the best time when the digestive juices are secreted, and lunch between 12:30, and dinner before 7, that is before dusk. Okay. But we are not following these timings at all, right? Each of us wake up late, or start your exercise late and have breakfast around 10 o'clock. So the time has become convenient. For each person, it's convenience as a time. So what I would recommend is stick to three good timings. That is your breakfast, lunch, dinner. Stick to a particular timing so that your digestive juices are secreted at the same time every day. And in between breakfast, lunch, dinner, have some fillers like early morning, mid morning, and evening. Okay, so when you're going to have introduce three smaller meals between three larger meals, it's going to help you much better so that you will not eat larger meal in a larger portion. Okay, you're going to cut that large portion by eating a small, like say for example a filler. What I mean to say is like green tea or buttermilk, or say a fruit in between your breakfast and lunch, or between a mug of green tea or a mug of tea between your lunch and your dinner. So something to break that you need to have so that your timings are set. So it's nothing like a hard and fast rule that you have to have every 2 hourly, but something at least 6 meals a day. And before you go to sleep, see to it that you have 3 hours gap between your dinner and your sleep timing. That doesn't mean if you have your dinner at 10, you sleep at 1, right? So more late you're awake, more your digestive juices are going to be more, your digestive system is already active and active. You're not giving rest at all. Your liver is going to be completely, destroyed, right? So beyond 12 o'clock, there are a lot of studies which have said that, beyond 12, what happens, beyond 1, what happens, and beyond 2, what happens. And a lot of people who are working in BPO have ended up in a lot of health issues related to acidity and gastritis because of the timing, right? They sleep late and wake up late. The whole circadian rhythm is changed for them. The biological clock changes.
So,
So
what do you do now? There is a question here, in fact. So, let's take that up right now. So, what do you do for a person who's working on a night shift?
So listen to your body, number one. Okay. The body will tell you a lot, right? And if you are getting, do not ignore the cues that you get, right? Do not, what I would say, rather than the do's, I would say the don'ts when you're working in a night shift. Do not consume coffees, right? Late night, because it's going to cause more of insomnia. It is going to cause more and more of sleep disturbances in future, right? So what you could take is, you shift in such a way that your lunch and your dinner timing is set. Say you're working from a shift from 10 to morning 5 a.m. So you let your dinner time be 7 p.m. only, and let your lunch time be 12. So when you're back home at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you immediately go to sleep like within an hour. So you could take plenty of water, or you could take something alkaline liquid like hot water, lime, or some green tea or something like that. And then you can, create a dark atmosphere or a blue light, which will induce sleep. And between 5 to 12, like 7 hours, you could sleep and have your lunch by around 12 o'clock. At least 2 meals you are set, right? You're not changing your meal timings. It's only the breakfast meal which you're going to skip. So at least your lunch and dinner is set on the same timing. Similarly, night, what you eat, midnight, everybody are hungry, right? So it's better to have something protein containing snacks, or something like, easily digestible fruits, or like, bananas, or something which will help you to, or milk, which is very good for your system. So which will prevent acidity. So you could have something like that rather than having coffees and chais, right? So we need to work on a one-on-one basis, knowing the person's body, how it is reacting, and we need to give a personalized diet chart for such kind of patients.
Uh, Ambika, what about uh, honey or jaggery for diabetic patients? Or
Yeah, honey is absolute no-no for diabetics. As I said, honey is 17% water and very high amount of fructose. And honey cannot be given for diabetics, and jaggery also cannot be given for diabetics. For diabetics, it is no sugar only. Absolutely no sugar at all. In fact, I would not even recommend any kind of artificial sweeteners other than little bit of stevia, if at all you require once in a while. If you make some sweet with that, you could. But absolutely no to honey and jaggery.
Thank you, Ambika. The next question here, should fruits be taken before food or after food?
Fruit should be taken when your stomach is as empty as possible, right? That's the best time when your fruits are absorbed. So you could have fruits between lunch and dinner. As I said, say you're having your lunch by 12:30, you could have your fruit around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. So there is a empty gap, right? So you can break that by taking a nice large bowl of fruit plate. And try to consume fruit before 7, 8 o'clock, because fruit contains fruit sugar, which is fructose. And fructose, the pathway of fructose, it also has a tendency to increase your blood sugar. So not too much of fruits, or too much of fruits can also increase your triglycerides. So take moderation, maybe 2 fruits a day as per WHO guidelines. You could take that much of fruits.
Ambika, what about, there's a question here by Nana asking, how much time should the food be consumed after cooking? Yeah,
So the right thing is within 1 to 2 hours of cooking. Okay, so that's a right way to consume food, within immediately after cooking. That's the best. So what is better? 2 to 3 hours, max to max is 2 to 3 hours. So beyond that, it is going to cause more of health issues. But if you're going to have make your food by 7:30 in the morning or 8 in the morning and have it by 12:31, it's perfectly fine. But if you're going to have it in the evening, the food itself is going to become putrefactive, like a lot of organisms start developing. So it is better you follow other techniques to make the food more better or more palatable. Or so that is where the right way of cooking comes here, right? So how to prevent nutrient losses in cooking, the right kind of food, the right way of cooking, all this plays a very important role for us to know when to consume the food.
what about, you mentioned about cold pressed oil, Ambika.
Yeah.
So is that good for health and is that the best recommended uh, oil that you would consume?
So because it's more close to nature, right? So cold pressed oils are any time better compared to the refined oils, because the refined oils go through a lot of chemical process. So if you can just Google and see how oil is made, the refined oils. So you will see that, a whole lot of process. The original groundnuts or the original soya bean, it's lost all its nutrients, right? To convert it into oil, the oil seeds, basically. So basically, it is always good to consume the most natural form. The most natural form I would recommend is cold pressed.
Right. And you spoke about taking water first thing in the morning. Yeah. So there's a question here by Sandeep asking, do we need to eat something before we take water in the morning?
Absolutely no. So why water in the morning, right? Now, water has got a lot of health benefits, because overnight when we sleep, what happens is we are at rest. So your muscles are generally relaxed. And for the stiff muscles, when you're going to include water, the muscles absorb water much, much better early morning when you take water. The second reason why you take water is it helps to prevent the dehydration, the whole 8 hours, right? So early morning, the first thing that you consume should be water, right? And which form of water? So people ask, should it be a warm water, or should it be lukewarm, or should it be ice water or cold water? So the best is keep it in normal temperature, or slightly lukewarm, because lukewarm is close to our body temperature. So it's always good to take lukewarm water. And how much of water? Some people take 2-3 liters of water as you wake up. That much is not recommended at all, because it's going to dilute your digestive juices. So up to 2 glasses of water, plain water is good, followed by an alkaline water. Alkaline water, what I mean to say is, you could add lime, or you could add some apple cider vinegar, which will improve the alkalinity of your water. So once you consume such kind of alkaline water, your body, which is acidic overnight, it immediately gets neutralized. So by the neutralized feeling, you wake up, you become more energetic, your metabolism peps up, your digestive system starts acting very, very quick, and you cleanse your colon, and you have very good elimination because of just by consuming water. And the best thing is, you see a fresher skin, you get a better glow in your skin by drinking water. And recently I read a study about even by drinking water on an empty stomach, it improves hair growth, right? So imagine how much of water, meaning how much water can help you by taking in an empty stomach. So definitely start consuming water from today onwards. As you wake up, the first thing that you should take is water.
Right. There's a question here by Sridevi saying, does salad increase water retention in the body?
Not at all. Absolutely no. There is nothing called water retention by taking salads. Now, water retention itself is because of a condition. Maybe there is some ailment in your body. There is something where you're not able to eliminate the water from your, or excrete the water from your system, maybe due to some disease condition like hypertension, or it may be any kind of kidney disorders. So salads are not going to cause any kind of water retention. In fact, they contain good amount of water. So watery fruits, watery vegetables, water containing foods like buttermilk, coconut water, take in plenty. So when I say about water, there are two kinds of water: extracellular water and intracellular. So what we are doing is, when we are consuming water, we are increasing the intracellular water, right? Inside the cell is hydrated. Whereas the extracellular water is the one which causes swelling. So when I say consume water, we are going to improve our intracellular water. So the cell is always hydrated.
Right. There's a question here by Saloni saying, what would you say about consuming gluten for someone with a weak gut health? Or what are the foods that you would also recommend for people who've got weak gut health?
Yes, gluten is an inflammatory substance. Okay, gluten is present in wheat. So there is a protein, gluten is a protein present in wheat, which can cause more harm in your digestive system. So it can cause an inflammation. So there is something called as wheat belly. People who take wheat have a lot of gastrointestinal disturbances. For people who have a gluten enteropathy, which is called as a gluten related disease, you have to completely stop taking gluten. So by when I say gluten, even of bread, a dot of bread contains the amount of gluten that is enough to create an infection in your body, right? So you avoid all wheat containing foods like biscuits, oats, wheat, rye, barley. All these contain gluten. So we need to avoid them. Whereas you can take the gluten free products, which are millets like jawar, bajra, rajgira, oats, sama rice. All these contain, they do not have gluten. Rice does not contain gluten. So you can switch to gluten free foods compared to the gluten containing foods. Any biscuits, any kind of biscuits contain gluten, that should be completely avoided for gluten enteropathy.
So what would you say? Okay, that's gluten. So now when we came on to biscuits, there's a question here asking what, okay, some of us are now beyond our habits and we need to curb our habits, but there are children who we can sort of build good eating habits from childhood. So what are the kind of foods you would suggest for them to snack on?
Okay, to snack on fruits. The first thing, please keep whole lot of fruits, whole lot of salads. Like say you could have finger foods like carrots. You could cut carrots, cut beetroot, put some chaat masala in it, and make the chaat masala at home. Like you could add your salt, your sendav namak, your hing. You can make your own chaat masala, jeera powder, etc. Right? So you could give cut fruits as finger foods for children. The second thing which I would recommend is lots and lots of, like the simple roasted millets, right? Like you can give makhana, which you can make it at home. The makhana chivda, which you can make it at home. You can have murmura. You can give roasted chana, or roasted peanuts. For children, peanuts are okay because peanuts do contain saturated fat. And if people who have high amount of cholesterol and visceral fat, we try to avoid peanuts. For children, get them to the habit of having a lot of liquids. So most of the time when children are hungry, it's not hunger, they are thirsty. Okay, so you would try to give them something liquidy rather than giving them solid food each time, right? So once you give them liquid, they understand it is just the thirst and not the hunger. So give them the habit of taking more and more of simple home cooked foods and right meal timings. So if you're going to stick to the breakfast, lunch, dinner, and fillers in between, I don't think children are going to be over hungry, right? And before and after their game, like before they go for your any kind of play activity, give them good amount of milk, give them good amount of fruits, dry fruits, and when they come back they are very hungry, capture that time and give them good wholesome vegetables and roti, sabzi, dal, etc. So that is how you have to pace the time with kids. You'll have to understand this is the time when my child is hungry, and that is the time when I have to introduce the right food to them. So it is all a smart mother can do all this.
Right. And one question here is, when a person has too much gas or acidity and constant hiccups for long periods of time, what should they do?
Yeah, as far as food is concerned, as I said, food can be your medicine. Treat your food like your medicine. Like a lot of digestive disorders can be completely corrected with your food. Say, for example, if you're getting repeated acidity, start taking jeera, more in your diet, like maybe in the form of jeera kada or jeera water. There's something called jeshtamad, which is excellent for your acidity. You could include that in your diet. You could also take a good amount of hing, and avoid the bloating foods. Anything which causes acidity, like very strong flavored foods, like for example your cabbage, cauliflower, cruciferous vegetables, potatoes. All these cause a lot of gas and acidity. Try to avoid them for some period of time till your digestive system improves. I'm not saying that stop them for all. What we need to do is we need to eat in such a way we heal our digestive system, give them the food which is good. Eliminate those foods which are going to cause problem in your digestive system so that the inflammation does not happen over and over again. And then reintroduce the same food after some period of time. When you're doing that, what happens is your system is healed. Uske baad kya? Lakad hazam, pattar hazam. You can eat everything, right? So you need to train your digestive system. You need to do it through practice.
And now, Ambika, what food do you recommend, or 5 foods that you would recommend to our listeners as medicine
Okay.
to include in their habit?
Okay. So the
Ladies and gentlemen, before Ambika answers this question,
yeah.
uh, Ambika has launched Health Sutras today. So on her Instagram page, which is health.sutras, for all of you who are on Instagram, please do join that. And Ambika is going to do a 21-day hand-holding sessions of introducing healthy habits of food every single day that you could uh, include in your lifestyle and daily lifestyle, and bring about that change where food becomes your medicine. So there would be videos put up and an inspirational habit or put up every single day for the next 21 days to help bring about that change. So that, I mean, we all do want to live healthy, right? We all, when you ask us how do you want, we all want to live healthy. But there's a little bit of work that we need to do so that when we die, we all want to die with our boots on as well. Yeah. So
Right.
let's all together come on to that. Please do log on to health.sutras on Instagram, follow her page, and a healthy tip a day is what she promises us. And thank you very much, Ambika, for that. And now the answer: 5 foods that we must include to what we say, ditch that pill. Yeah.
Absolutely. Uh, so anyway, thank you so much to Hingori Sutras for giving me this opportunity to launch Health Sutras. So the reason to launch Health Sutras is to improve the quality of the life that we are living, right? So by very simple but yet effective tips, And if you're not going to do it every day, it's never going to be a habit, right? You're going to listen to as much as a lot of health information, but if you're not going to implement it, there's no use, right? So the 21-day health sutras, which we are going to, give step by step, very simple tips. I would urge all of you to be a part of it, and you see a great transformation within yourself in the next 21 days, because we say you break a habit or make a habit in 21 days. So I would definitely request all of you out here to be a part of this and follow that to the T, so that it's going to really help you in the long run. Now about the five foods. So let me categorize the five foods. So the first category, which I want all of you to think of, is foods with high vibrational energy, right? Any food which is going to improve your vibrational energy, your aura, your calm your senses. It's going to help you to improve your thinking. So choose those kind of foods. So the first one is raise your vibration through foods. So what are the foods? Fruits, vegetables have very high vibrational energy. Fresh foods have high vibrational energy. So choose fresh foods, simple foods, natural foods, food in the most natural form. By the word product means it's processed. When I say food, it's in the most natural form. So number one is food with high vibrational energy. Number two is anti-inflammatory foods. Because if I'm going to strengthen my immune system, I have to have anti-inflammatory foods, right? Those which will prevent inflammation. Like, for example, you can take ginger, you can take garlic, you can have all your spices which are anti-inflammatory, which will, you can include haldi in your diet. You can have a good amount of, probiotics, that is curd, yogurt, etc., which are anti-inflammatory. So include anti-inflammatory foods. The third, which I want to introduce, is take antioxidant rich food, because we have a lot of free radicals in our body. We are continuously generating, oxidation process is happening in our body. We need to take antioxidants. Only then you're going to give the best immune system in your body, right? So how are we going to improve the antioxidants? By taking good amount of vitamin E containing, like almonds, walnuts, good amount of dry fruits which have antioxidant property, good amount of avla, vitamin C, which have good amount of citrus fruits, etc., which are antioxidant. The fourth is any food which can help you prevent disease. Include at least one food in your diet. Which is the food which can help you prevent a disease? Number one, which I said, is water, right? Water helps you to prevent disease. So include water in your diet. Include high fiber food, which can prevent your metabolic syndrome, like hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, liver disorders, fatty liver. All this, the five diseases can be controlled by one food, which is fiber. So take good amount of fiber in your diet, which can prevent diseases. The last but not the least is take foods which can calm your mind, calm your senses. Stress busters. What are stress busters? The foods which will help us keep us in our stability, right? Let our senses be less provoked. Let our taste buds be less provoked. Do not succumb to taste by taking very spicy, very oily, very tasty food, because in the long run, it is going to give you a lot of health issues. So these are the five categories of foods which I humbly request all of you to incorporate in your daily diet, and therefore you can see a change. And I promise you, if you're going to do this, you are going to have a wonderful immune system and therefore improve your longevity. But if you don't do all this, you can find your way to heaven or hell. I guarantee you, through food itself, that is going to be your path to either of the two. And if food is going to help you, food can also harm you. So I would like to end the session, and I would like to thank Hingori Sutras for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you all the listeners for patiently listening to me so far.
Thank you very much, Ambika. It was a wonderful session and very, very enlightening. And
very, very inspiration. And dear audience, if you would like to change a few habits, do join in health.sutras on Instagram. Starting tomorrow, Ambika is going to put in one tip a day for us to bring about that change to live more healthy. Thank you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Auntie.
listening to us. Thank you, Ambika. Shubh Ratri, Sayonara, good night. See you in